If you've been feeling a little distant lately, this is for you.
Not dramatic, not broken, just a little far from people, a little far from life, a little far from that feeling of being naturally included in someone's day. And sometimes that kind of loneliness after 65 is the hardest kind, because almost nobody sees it. You may still talk to people now and then. You may still smile, run errands, make small talk. But deep down, something can still feel missing. Not more noise, not more people, just more real connection. And the good news is, you do not need to change your whole life this week to feel that again. Sometimes connection starts much smaller than we think. Today, I want to share 7 simple ways to feel more connected this week. Not pressured, not overwhelming, just small, gentle steps that can help you feel a little more close, a little more seen, and a little more part of life again.
One of the quiet changes that comes later in life is this.
Connection no longer happens automatically.
When you were younger, there may have been coworkers, busy family routines, neighbors you saw often, school events, daily obligations, and people who simply crossed your path without effort. But after retirement, after loss, after the children grow up, after friends move away or pass on, life can become much quieter. And what hurts is not always the silence itself. It is the feeling that you are no longer in the center of anyone's everyday life. That is a very human pain. So, if you've had days where you checked your phone more than once, hoping someone had reached out, or evenings where the television was on mostly to fill the room, or moments where you wanted to call someone but stopped yourself because you didn't want to be a burden, please hear this. You are not needy for wanting connection. You are not weak for missing closeness. And you have not failed at aging just because some days feel long and emotionally quiet. Wanting to feel remembered is deeply human. And small moments of connection still count. This is important. You do not need a big social life to feel more connected. You do not need a packed calendar. You do not need a brand new personality. And you definitely do not need to put yourself out there in some big, exhausting way. What you may need is something much gentler than that. A new rhythm, a small opening, a few real moments this week that remind your heart, I am still here. I still matter. I still belong in this world. So let's begin. Send one simple message without apologizing for it. This week, send one small message to someone you trust. Not a long explanation, not something polished, just something real. You could say, thinking of you today. Hope your week is going okay. You crossed my mind, and I wanted to say hello. I'd love to hear how you've been when you have time. That's enough. A lot of older adults hesitate here because they don't want to seem needy. They don't want to interrupt. They don't want to be the one always reaching first. But reaching out is not begging for connection. It is participating in it. And often, the hardest part is not the message itself. It is getting past that quiet voice that says, if they cared, they would contact me first. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it doesn't. But one small message can reopen a door that has simply gone quiet, not closed. This week, don't aim for a deep conversation.
aim for one honest point of contact.
That alone can soften a lonely day.
2. Return to one familiar place where life is still happening.
Connection does not always begin with conversation. Sometimes it begins with presence.
Go to one familiar place this week where other people are simply living their lives around you. A coffee shop, a park bench, a library, a church service, a local diner, a community center, even the same grocery store at the same time of day.
Why does this matter?
Because isolation can make the world feel far away, and being around ordinary life can quietly remind you that you are still part of it. You do not have to charm anyone. You do not have to make friends on the spot. You do not have to perform. Just go where life is happening. Sit. Notice. Smile if it feels natural. Let your body remember what it feels like to be among people again. Sometimes belonging begins before conversation. Sometimes it begins with simply not being alone in your own silence for an hour. 3. Choose one small moment of real conversation over empty noise. Many people don't realize this, but it is possible to be surrounded by noise and still feel emotionally untouched. The TV can be on all day. The radio can be playing. You can hear voices and still feel deeply alone. So this week, try replacing just one stretch of empty noise with one real exchange. Call someone for 10 minutes. Ask a cashier how their day is going and really listen. Speak to a neighbor instead of just waving. Reply to someone with warmth instead of habit. And here is the key. Ask one slightly more real question. Not just, how are you? But, how has your week been? Really? Or, what's been on your mind lately? Or even, what's something good that happened to you this week? Real connection often begins when somebody feels invited to answer honestly. And when they do, something changes. The moment becomes human. The distance narrows. You do not need more conversations. You may simply need one that feels real. 4. Let yourself be useful to someone in one small way. Sometimes what we miss most is not just company. It is usefulness. It is the feeling that who we are still matters to someone else. That our presence helps. That our voice has weight. That our care still has somewhere to go. So this week, look for one small way to be useful. Share a recipe, check on a neighbor, mail a card, water a plant for someone, offer advice only if welcomed, read to a grandchild on the phone, send a photo with a memory attached to it, bring something simple to someone who might appreciate it. These small actions do more than fill time. They restore emotional place. They remind you that connection is not only about being loved, it is also about having love to give. And many older adults still carry so much warmth, wisdom, steadiness, and care inside them. The pain is not that it disappeared. The pain is that there are fewer obvious places to put it. This week, give that care somewhere to land. 5. Stop waiting for the right moment and create a tiny rhythm instead. One reason connection gets harder later in life is because it becomes too accidental. Everyone is busy. Schedules don't match.
days blur together. And when there is no rhythm, people can care about each other and still drift.
So instead of hoping for connection to happen naturally, create one tiny pattern. Call one person every Tuesday afternoon. Text your sister every Friday morning. Have coffee at the same place each Wednesday. Join the same class, group, or service once a week. Sit on your porch at the same hour. Take the same walk and greet the same people.
Rhythm creates familiarity, and familiarity creates closeness. It may not feel dramatic, but it matters more than people think, because connection becomes stronger when it is repeated. You may not need a new life. You may just need a new rhythm. And this week is a good place to begin one. Say yes to one invitation, even if part of you wants to stay home. Now, this is not about forcing yourself to do things that drain you. It is simply about noticing that loneliness often grows in the space between desire and hesitation. You may want connection and still feel resistant when the moment comes. That is normal. Sometimes getting dressed feels like too much. Sometimes energy is low. Sometimes you worry you won't enjoy yourself. Sometimes staying home feels safer. But if an invitation comes this week, a visit, a phone call, a lunch, a church event, a walk, even a short stop by, consider saying yes to one of them. Not all, just one. Because often, the part of us that longs for connection is quieter than the part that wants to retreat. And later, many people realize the same thing. I'm glad I went. Connection rarely arrives while we wait in total comfort. It usually asks for one gentle act of courage, just enough to step toward life again. 7. End each day by noticing one moment that made you feel less alone. This final one may seem small, but it has real power. At the end of the day, ask yourself, what was one moment today that made me feel even slightly connected? Maybe someone smiled at you. Maybe a friend texted back. Maybe you had a warm conversation. Maybe someone remembered your name. Maybe you sat near others and felt calmer. Maybe you were the one who reached out. Write it down if you want. Just one moment. Why does this help? Because loneliness can make the mind overlook what is still alive. It can convince you that nothing counts unless it is big. But that is not true. Small moments count. A kind exchange counts. A returned message counts. A familiar face counts. A brief feeling of warmth counts. When you notice connection, you strengthen your ability to feel it. And over time, these small moments stop feeling random. They begin to form a life. If this week has felt quiet, if you've been feeling forgotten, if you miss being part of someone's everyday life, I want to remind you of something, gently. You are still worth reaching for. You are still worth remembering. And it is not too late to feel connected again. Maybe not all at once. Maybe not in some grand movie-like way. But piece by piece, moment by moment, week by week, connection does not always return as a big breakthrough. Sometimes it returns as a message sent, a chair pulled up next to someone else, a familiar place, a real question, a shared laugh, a small rhythm. tiny yes. And sometimes that is how life begins to feel close again. If this spoke to you, I'd love for you to stay with this channel. And if you feel comfortable, leave a comment and tell me which of these 7 you might try this week. Not because you need to fix everything, just because one small step can change the feeling of a whole week. And if you know someone who has been feeling a little distant lately, share this with them. Sometimes the most meaningful thing we can offer another person is this simple reminder. You still belong.